Dude, all these hours of physical and mental foreplay had left me primed and ready. That's not how it works, Bella.
That does not how it works. It does not work that way. Like, you either gotta poke it in the vajayjay for a while to get lubed up and pop in, or you gotta use something that comes in a tube. It does not just... The ass does not lube unless the bitch has diarrhea. In which case, fucking, that's kinkier than I imagined it was gonna be. Oh my god. Oh, that's a visual I'm fortunately not doing.
I have a headache. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 46, I think. It is 46 this week. Episode 46 of the Thought Patrol podcast. It is your boy Kyle and your other boy, Shawn, on Discord.
Howdy-ho.
Indeed. We have come back this week after a slight break because Easter was quite hectic, and then Mother Nature decided to nut stomp me with sickness. So the whole week has been semi-awful, but we are here this week, and we're back to talk to you lovely people. Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, Shawn, how's your week been?
Relatively uneventful, I suppose. Had a lot of fun going to see Ready Player One. Hung out with my buddy for a little bit. Had discussions, and then he went his way.
Okay, sounds good.
That was about it, really. Yes. I have the ability to make everything sound hideously boring, but I had a good time. Which was a Saturday night. We had some fun.
Nice. Sounds good.
With friends and shit. Yay!
The
week itself was...
I have also seen Ready Player One, so we can talk about that when we get to our movie segment.
Box office tops.
And discuss what we thought about it. And just give our little opinions on it. But I'm glad your week has been okay. Now, for games, I know you've been still delving into Ni no Kuni. Have you finished the main story of Ni no Kuni yet, or are you still just kind of checklisting the game?
Checklisting.
Okay.
I stopped it just prior, I think, to the last chapter. Does it have 9 chapters, 10 chapters?
It's either 8 or 9, I think.
8 or 9? And I'm on... Yeah, I've stopped it just shy of the last chapter, because I know you go back in and you do the whole rat place, and then after that you have to take on the real bad guy.
Yeah.
And I'm still like, oh, I need to do this quest, and I need to make that level 14, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And there's 100, I think, 3 characters or something like that you can get. And
the citizens. Yeah.
Yeah, one of them has like a ridiculous requirement. You have to get something that's like stupid rare, and I'm really not looking forward. I still haven't found it. Okay. Because I'm trying to play it with minimal assistance. So.
Yeah, I played through the game the same way. I think there was like 1 or 2 things that I just couldn't find in the world that I looked up for assistance that way, because I had no idea where to find them. Socktopus still elude me to this day.
I found them. I don't know where I found them, though. They just ended up in my inventory, and it was exactly 3, which is what she wanted.
You might know what happened is, as you upgrade your kingdom, obviously, the fishing villages, I read that you can get them from there. Based on your citizen's stats, they could roll a higher, fish, and then you'll get them in your store. So you might have picked them up from the store if you have a decent, kingdom. They might have came that way. You don't have to scavenge them from the wild. You can get them that way. So that might have been what happened. You were just collecting from your store, and it just happened to be in there, and you had them when you checked.
That's the only thing I can think, because I know there's a couple of quest items that just randomly spawn from your markets.
Yeah, I have finished the game. Ended up putting about, I think it was 36 hours into it, which is not doing everything, obviously. I just went ahead completed the main story. And then my plan is, when the story DLC starts to drop, I'm going to go back into the game and complete it 100% it with the story DLC. So I have something on top of just checklisting. I could do the story as well. So that was the plan. And I don't know how they're going to do the story DLC, but I have some ideas on what it might be. But I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to spoil anything about the ending of the game, especially since you haven't finished it. It's still fairly new. But one thing I can say is the story, the ending of it, definitely the way it wrapped up was good. It was well done, and the story as a whole grew on me as it ended. I still think the way that the story is told is very, very basic, very linear. There's not much that is opened up to the person experiencing it. So it's still very, very chill of an experience. But the story as a whole, the lore and the world was good, and I enjoyed it. And what they did reveal to you, I enjoyed, and I thought the way the story wrapped up was really cool. And I'm excited to see what they do, because there are some avenues that they can take with the story DLC. So I'm excited to see what they plan over at level 5. So that's got me excited. I don't know when the hell those story DLCs are coming out. I just know that there's 2 of them. So.
Yeah, and they're talking about them being like 20 hours each or something like that, which isn't bad.
Sounds good to me. Sounds like a blast.
So, I mean, if you think about it, like if you add the next 2 together, it basically gives you a whole nother game.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of DLC in which I am happy to pay for. I really don't. I'm not a huge fan of the story for children. I mean, now that I've finally kind of put my finger on it, that the way the story works, the way it develops, the way the characters develop, the reason why they don't spend any time on any particular emotional gravity type stuff is because it's a children's story. It's not going to have any kind of a severe drama to it when there should be. And that part kind of threw me off for a while. But I think he brought up a valid point. For the same reason that this game is a breath of fresh air for me, is I play it almost more just for the mechanics of the game, simple as they may be. I play it for the old school mechanics more than I do it for anything else. Like, I don't really give a shit about the characters. And it's weird to say that, because I wouldn't like this game if it didn't have a story. I'm just not attached to the story. I don't know. It's very strange. I've never played a game, at least not that I can within recallable memory, that survives almost entirely on charisma. That's just very unusual for me to consider.
Interesting. Yeah, you might come into some problems with the way the story wraps up. Now I'm thinking back on it, just the way that how I know that you are, but I still think it was all right.
I'm assuming it'll wrap like the first one. Roland will meet his twin soul, because the first character had a twin soul, and he met him, and then he went home. So I'm assuming Roland will meet his twin soul, which, if I had to do dollars to donuts, is a character they've already met, maybe the bad guy. I don't know. And I don't really think there'd be much beyond that. Like, everybody gets along, happy ending. This is it's a children's thing, so that would make the most sense.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. So that's good. So it's been Ni no Kuni. Again, we saw Ready Player One. I've heard a lot, and I want to go see, what's it called? A Quiet Place. I've heard very good things about that movie.
It's good. It's an intelligent horror movie. It's not like a rousing adventure. It's very old school.
That's good. Sounds cool.
In terms of like the kind of thriller it is. It's focused more on, I don't really know how to explain it. It's focused more on the characters than the things they're fighting against or trying to survive.
Yeah, it's more, which is refreshing, because usually horror movies are more about the monster or villain, and then you have retarded main characters that people usually don't like. So it's nice to see a different take there. What was I going to say? There was something important that was on my mind. Oh, I also want to introduce something new we'll talk about after we get out of the mailbag, before we move on to our game segment. It's completely silly, but because we're all such huge fans of My Hero, every week when the new episode comes out, I want us to just like sit down and talk about it and gush a little bit. Have you seen the new episode, Shawn? The first episode?
No, there's so many things. I watched in the last, I don't know what week, I watched like 5 series.
So you failed.
And I started yeah, I went hardcore. And I finally, about a year ago, I have a page on Facebook which is all just geek stuff. It's like geek humor, geek news, etc. That I started with some friends, and we just post shit up there when we think about it, and then we can always just go and look at the whatever pictures. And I used to write these really, really, and I can pat myself on the back here because I read them and they were awesome reviews on anime that I finished, and I called them the Streaming Geek Reviews. And I would write a review on like Hunter x Hunter, and they were deep, long, and I'd always do a condensed version in the last paragraph. So if anybody didn't want to really read on the intricacies on why this is an interesting spin on a topic, or how they did something really interesting with the way they developed the characters, or so on and so forth, they could always just run to the last paragraph and get the quick and dirty of it.
Yeah.
And I haven't put that much effort into the reviews yet. I just kind of like, it's a free, because one of the, I'm all over the fucking place. I'm sorry. One of the reasons why I like our podcast is it's more of just, we happen to discuss things. So we're not trying to we're not going into like an in-depth analysis. So, if we feel like doing that, we do. Other times we might just say, hey, this is really rad and nice boobies, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
It's to me, it's more real. And I like that kind of stuff. Kind of like how Rooster Teeth does their shit. Sometimes they're very intelligent, and sometimes they're just fun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I wrote them. Like if I felt like talking about the character development, I would do that. If I felt like I should mention the music because the music was amazing, I would do that. But there's some of the reviews, I put 3 up where I don't even mention like, oh, the music, or oh, this. It's just whatever really seems like something I would want to mention about it. So I've done 3. I did Land of the Lustrous, I did Devilman Crybaby, and I did the one I just finished. I told you about that one with the girl with the metal arms, Violet Evergarden.
Violet Evergarden.
Which I was ecstatic that they didn't turn that into a romance. Like that was fucking perfect. Thank God.
What we can do is you need to remind me tomorrow night sometime. You could give me the link and I could put in the description of the podcast this episode. So all you guys tuning in, if that sounds interesting to you and you want to read something that Shawn wrote himself, check the link in the description. If I remembered, I'm going to try my best to remember. I'm going to write it down right here, actually.
You're more than welcome to write up your own reviews on things, and I can put them on there too.
I am not that, I don't want to say intelligent, but I don't know. That's just not, that's why I like the podcast too, because again, not just the natural aspect of it, but the fact that if I have something that interests me, I could sit here and speak and discuss about it with you guys instead, because I'm not very good at sitting down and putting a pen to paper and formulating something that's coherent. So that's why I prefer something like where I'm speaking, especially also when we could like pinball off each other. I think that's nice. But hey, maybe sometime if I ever feel like it, I'll definitely hit you up. But I wrote it down. I'm going to remember so I could link what you're talking about in the description. So you guys tuning in, if that sounds interesting to you, check the description down below for Shawn's Facebook page. So we're also working on getting up a Facebook page for the podcast. Maybe hope to get more, what do I want to say, exposure out there. Maybe get people sharing, just so we can get more people to kind of come by and hang out and chill out with us. So I'm glad you had a good week, Shawn. Thinking anime.
I have a.
Go ahead.
Never mind. I forgot. I shit you not. I was like, question. Never mind. No question.
Please excuse from my end if you hear anything phlegmy, because I am full of it today. Still working off this sickness. So just mind that. God damn, it's been a while, man. You stop for a week and you sound like a blabbering idiot on air. Anime's been pretty busy actually this week, with Persona 5 the animation coming out, which was absolutely fantastic. We have the new Tokyo Ghoul season has started up. which I actually, because I have not read all of the manga, so I'm just kind of out of the loop. So I had to go look up exactly what was going on, why Kaneki didn't have the same name, how much time has passed since the end of the second season, all that shit. But now
there's a big difference between the manga and the series. I mean, they essentially are in the same place, but you do know that there's, like, the second season they reversed it. Like, instead of him becoming the leader of one squad, he became the leader of the other squad, and they changed some shit.
Yeah, but
it ultimately ends in the same place. But his character arc developed differently.
None of that matters now because we're in the future and like a whole like 2 years and stuff. But so I've been enjoying that. Just more Tokyo Ghoul is nice, and also again My Hero. I fucking adore that show, and I'm happy that it's back, even though the first episode was pretty much just a recap, which is what I kind of expected coming, because first to second season had the same thing, so why would they not do a recap episode to start off this new season? It's been a while since we've been in this world, so just like...
Best recap, hands down, so far was that was the girl with the scissors. Like, halfway through, they start doing a recap, and they're like, fuck it. And then they fast forwarded. You remember that shit?
Yeah.
Because we know you hate recaps. Brrr, no, fuck it, whatever. And then they just moved on. That was the best.
Yeah, so just been super excited with anime and stuff like that. My phone just vibrated. Throw that over there. And I recommend, if you haven't played Persona 5 and you want to experience the story, from what I've seen so far in the first episode, this is a fantastic way to not spend 100 hours playing a game, although the game is one of the best RPGs in the past couple of years, and I highly recommend you play it. But if you don't have the time to drop 100 hours into a video game, this is a fantastic way to experience the story, experience the characters, experience the world, and definitely experience the music of Persona 5. And
so they stick to the story? They don't do something new?
So far, it's been word for word, pretty much. And it's cool.
Damn it, I'm going to have to fucking wait to watch the show now.
And it's cool seeing some of the scenes that you wouldn't normally see animated, because it's all through animation instead of like the 3D people staring at each other stuff that happens in Persona 5. So just super pumped. But with like My Hero, it was worth it alone just seeing the new opening, which was fucking awesome. And they keeping the tradition of having fantastic opening songs to their shows. So, and just seeing some of the stuff, seeing a little bit of, I think her name's either Nana or not. I think it's Nana, who is the woman that is All Might's, or the successor to All Might, or All Might's successor, the one that came before All Might that passed the powers onto him before he passed his powers onto Deku, and seeing more of her just even slightly in the opening. So super cool. Maybe we'll see some young All Might flashbacks and stuff like that. I'm super excited to see more of him when he was in his prime. And just excited. Anime's going again. It's been a while.
Has he died in the books yet?
No. Well, I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, everyone knows he's going to die at one point. He's died in the books. He's died. He's been dead for a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
It was
last time I checked, which was like 6 months ago or something. He was on his way out, but he hadn't.
Yeah. That whole kind of arc was very well done. Seeing everyone kind of move on from that and try and take those steps to better themselves as people within All Might's absence, especially Deku, which is where most of the show's focus goes for, at least. Although they do a fantastic job developing other characters, but Deku's kind of in the spotlight because this is his story. It says it right from the beginning. So just happy to be back in these worlds. Super pumped to continue watching. And like I said, I want to try and get it where we will all watch the episode each week, and we could just talk about it a little bit, gush every podcast episode, and then you all out there tuning in if it is something you're watching as well, which I know a bunch of people that listen to us are actively watching it as well. You guys can join in on the conversation. So super cool stuff. So that's been pretty good. That's what we've been going through. I'm glad that, again, all you guys can tune in, listen to us, hang out with us for these, the next hour and a half, a little bit over. We definitely appreciate all of you guys. We would not be here, without you all. So you definitely help making editing each episode that much easier. I need to get back into actually making YouTube shit. Also, I'm actively working on creating the block schedule for the live stream, the 12-hour live stream that will be happening on the 21st of April. Mark your calendars. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have basically a little 1-year anniversary party. I've talked to some of the other hosts. I know Tyler who's gonna try and make it at least be on at one point or another, either in Discord or in person. I'll try and get Antony over here. I want to try and get some playtime with Caitlyn of us playing something together, so we could all just kind of chill and hang out with you guys, and as we celebrate the year of this podcast. So. And when that block schedule is complete, it will be basically what we'll be doing for those 12 hours, and it will be on everything, Twitter, Discord. So if you need to see it, you will. I'm also probably going to make a YouTube video for it to announce it and stuff like that. So you guys are getting the first look, doesn't sound right, first hear on this podcast. It's all super exciting stuff as we move towards our 1 year celebration. So before we move on to the meat and potatoes of this podcast, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. We do have a Discord, as I mentioned earlier. If you guys want to come by, talk to some of the other people from the community, hang out with the hosts, that will be in the description below, as well as everything else we talk about in the housekeeping section. Anything that we talk about that interests you, you want to kind of give your feedback, your opinion, feel free to drop a comment below on YouTube, our home base. Speaking of YouTube, feel free to subscribe over there, get some of the other content that we produce, Let's Plays, stuff like that. And also you can check out our Twitter, at ThoughtPatrolPD. Get announcements, updates there. Zim says hi. And finally, if you guys want some big brownie points to help us out immensely, I've had people ask before what's like a good way they could help us out. One of the best ways that you can help us out is either iTunes reviews or coming to YouTube and just subscribing. Even if you don't watch anything, you just get there to add that extra number. We would immensely appreciate it. Help us pop up more on search results and stuff like that. Those are like two of the best ways to help us. So on top of just the classic way is just telling your friends. You're like, hey, I listen to these podcasts. These guys are retarded. You might like them. And just showing family, friends, stuff like that. Maybe your mom. Your mom might like our Kyle Ruin segment where we read dirty fan fiction. You never know. So, with all that out of the way, let's get on to our mailbag. Got a question from our old faithful, our boy Sam, always coming in with the questions every week. So, this is a doozy, Shawn. I want to see what you bring up here. But we have Sam asking, hey, what's up, peeps? Gonna keep it light and breezy this time. This shit ain't light or breezy. What's your favorite JRPG? Specifically, your favorite on the systems you've played. Take it easy, lemon squeezy, old maids, and Parcheesi. So, roll the All Might clip, whatever. So, Shawn, I'm gonna have you go first. I want to say, just because you've grown up more in this than I have, but I do. We both share a deep love for JRPGs. I'm gonna have you go first. If you can't give me one, give me three, because I know it's very hard to narrow down into one game. But if you can't give me one, give me three, or even.
Are we talking like a specific one? Or are we talking like franchises? Like
JRPG. Anything that's a JRPG, your favorite. If you want to give just a
Chrono Trigger would definitely be at the top of the list.
You stole my answer.
Chrono Trigger would be one. Any Final Fantasy, probably in terms of perfection of story, because I love Final Fantasy VIII. I believe the most. If I had to be brutal. And not be able to choose more, I would probably say 8. But honestly, 6 probably had the best story-wise, like the most well-written story. So Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, I don't really care which one. Anything before 13.
Okay.
And
I have faith. You can do this.
I'm thinking. I don't really.
There's
been so many.
Your question has broke, Shawn. Sam.
Yeah, there's
can
been
hear
so
the hamster
many.
wheel
Probably. Turning. That and maybe Shin Megami Tensei.
Which one?
You could really go with anyone. They're all about the same level of quality, but probably the God, what were they called? The Devil Trigger ones?
There's Devil Survivor.
Devil Survivor. They made an anime about
really
the
good.
second one.
Yeah. Oh man, Devil Survivor was good.
Yeah, like they were all really good. Like the one I spent the most time playing was actually the one that had Dante guest appear in it when the world went to shit and it went from like a normal world to like demons and angels and people dying everywhere and just insanity. Like Dante ended up getting fucking portaled over from Capcom Land or
That's
wherever the fuck
badass.
he was, and he fights the main. He's a hard ass boss. You're actually supposed to lose the fight. And when you fight him, he's like way higher level than you. And I spent like 4 hours like busting ass to beat him. And when I finally did, I had like 1 hit point left. It was ridiculous.
Damn.
But yeah, that one was the one I spent. I don't remember what that one was called. I think it was like Nocturne or something.
Interesting.
But yeah, I'd probably pick those. But I could give you just off the top of my head like 40 that were really good.
No, we're good with 3. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is the main topic.
That was that. And that took a great deal of effort, Sam. I want you to know that. Like, controlling what I was saying and keeping it to a Kyle-approved minimum was not easy.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm going to pick 3 as well, because I have a bunch that I enjoy. Because I really like the Tales of series. I really like the Persona / Shin Megami Tensei series, and I really like, what was the third one? It was in my head, and I fucking forgot. Oh, my God. Okay, I forgot it. I might remember it later, and I'll let you know, Sam, if I do. But I'm going to say my 3, I'm going to say, I don't want to pick 2 from the same franchise. I'm going to say Persona 5, but I really like 3 and 4 as well. But I'm going to say Persona 5. I'm going to say Tales of Symphonia. And for my 3rd, this is hard. Oh my gosh, how'd you do this, Shawn? I'm going to say... Fuck. Okay, the one that I was thinking of came back into my head momentarily and then left like a flame, just was out. So I'm going to say Persona 5, Tales of Symphonia, and I cannot remember the 3rd that I had in my head. Shawn, just start spouting off JRPG names or series.
Shadow Hearts. Oh man, there was another one I would have mentioned. Fuck, Vagrant Story. That one was really fucking good.
Keep going. I'm thinking. I can't remember.
Secret of Mana.
Secret.
I'm trying to think of ones you have played.
Secret of Mana was fantastic. I'll go with Secret of Mana. I like Secret of Mana a lot. You reminded me of that one. That one works.
Super classic.
That one works. So those are my 3. We have Tales of Symphonia, fantastic. Secret of Mana, fantastic. Actually, no, you already said Chrono Trigger. Fuck it. And Persona
Symphonia
5.
was GameCube too.
Yeah, it was on GameCube.
Mm-hmm. They made that under severe memory restrictions, and it was still fucking epic.
Yeah, that was probably one of the earlier JRPGs I played, that I remember, because the GameCube was the first big boy console that I actively remember playing as much as I could. Although I did play a lot of SNES and stuff. It's just I was much younger and I didn't get my hands on everything. But GameCube was when I was starting to be able to get my hands on stuff. We were going to Blockbuster and renting shit left and right and stuff like that. So. But there's a bunch of great fucking JRPGs. And that was a good question. We do appreciate it. We were able to make it concise. And Sam, you let us know. Either comment here on Discord what your favorite JRPGs are. I think in Persona might be in there somewhere. And all you guys tuning in, definitely let us know. What are your favorite JRPGs, if you have? And if you haven't played them, let us know too. We might be able to recommend some to you. There's definitely a lot of good ones out there. So real quick, because you haven't seen the episode, but I just want to talk about it a little bit for Boku no Hero before we move on to our Kyle Ruins, and I shall verbally assault you guys with pornographic material. The episode, again, as I spoke from the first episode of the season 3 of My Hero Academia, was a recap. Again, something that was expected. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I want to talk a lot. I really, really fucking enjoyed the opening. There's a lot there too, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you guys go and check it out. The song was done by Overworld, which were the people that made the first opening to Blue Exorcist as well, which is really cool. Great song, and I really liked it. And we were also able to see a little bit of the animation fidelity that we've seen prior in some of the really big boy fights of the series. And just seeing that in the shows, again, seeing Nana, it's either Nana or Nani. I don't think it's Nani. I think it's Nana. And a somewhat young All Might before he was injured. And it just leads a lot to what we can expect of this season moving forward. Hopefully some decent flashbacks, seeing again All Might in his prime. And maybe him moving towards his last leg as we get towards the end of this season. We don't know how far we're going to cover with this season. But I didn't see anything like Eri, who's the one super powered lolly backpack character from the manga. We haven't seen her yet. So that will probably be saved for the next season whenever we get there. Or they'll just make another opening halfway and then she will be there eventually. Don't know. But again, super fucking excited to get back into this show. There's some fights from the manga that I want to see animated. It reminds me of when I was first reading One Punch Man, when it was redone, not the original one that looked like doo-doo, but when it was redone, and I'm just fights covering entire 2 pages of manga, and I'm like, I want to see this animated, please. And then we finally got that with season 1 of One Punch Man. So again, super pumped. I want to try and get me and Caitlyn to finish Violet Evergarden before next week so we could talk about it, maybe review it on the podcast. And again, I will leave a link to Shawn's thing so you might go read his review on Facebook too to get his full opinion on it. So
I usually keep spoilers to a minimum, but if there's anything that I would consider a spoiler, I put a note at the top warning people.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm trying to control this phlegm. It fucking sucks. Whew. So that was that. Let's move on to our Kyle Ruins. So, you know what time?
I wanted to make a statement real quick. If you like the podcast, but you feel like there's ways that it can be improved, the best thing you can do is let us know. Put it in the comments section, or send a message, or fucking letter bomb one of us. I mean, whatever it takes. I don't really know what a letter bomb is, but I'm just making that up. I think that's a term I heard once. But point is share that with us. I've gotten some feedback from listeners recently, but they're listeners that, we know personally. We don't know all of you. So yeah, if you think something's too long, too short, or you think there's certain kinds of humor that don't work or do work or whatever, letting us know is a super excellent thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. And whatever way is easiest for you, we have a bunch of ways to contact us. Again, we have a Gmail if email's easy for you, at ThoughtPatrolcast@gmail.com, all one word. I think emails can't even have space in them, so never mind. Discord, again, that's a super easy way to get in contact with any of us. Twitter, YouTube comments, any way that is easy for you guys. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to get into contact with any one of us. Because again, we're trying to tailor this to you guys out there tuning in, and just trying to make the show as best as we can. And then on top of that, hoping to grow in the process and stuff like that. So again, we just want to hear from you guys, because again, we do hear from a decent amount of people, but I know that there's people on Spotify that might tune in or stop by that just haven't said hi. And I know it's something that no one ever wants to do. It's not something that you hear that and it's I don't know. But we don't bite, and we just are trying to
I sure as hell do.
we're just trying to tailor this show. And I've had my mom, she come by, she's like, I don't think it should be 2 hours. I'm like, I like the 2 hours. It gives us a lot of time to talk about a lot of stuff. And we pretty much fill it for the most part. But no more technical jargon. We'll talk about the rest of that shit off. But again, yeah, that was a good point. If you have any feedback for us, definitely let us know. So we're gonna move on to Kyle Ruins. So let's drop the mood down real quick. Get in, everyone. I'm gonna need you to lay back in your chair. Damn straight. I'm gonna need you to lay back in your chair. Chill out.
Unzip those pants.
Get the lube, maybe a napkin or two, or a particularly crusty sock, your favorite, and just lay down in bed, relax, turn the lights off, light a candle or two, and we're going to get right into this. So, last time on Kyle Ruins. I don't remember what was going on last time. I think the last line I read was something about Edward just started eating out Bella. So let me see if I can fucking find that. I need to start leaving marks or something. Oh God. Okay. Good. Oh shit, Ed. Oh, okay. We're good. I think I found it. You intoxicate me was the last thing, because I remember we talked about that. Okay. So, for those of you that are new to this, you're just tuning in for the first time. This is something we do not all the time, so keep that in mind. But every once in a while, we'll find a particularly garbage fan fiction that is erotic, and we will read it on air with ensuing laughter and just astounded at how bad some of these can be. This one's much better than the first one that we read, which was a mess. But no one likes Twilight, so that's good. And maybe you're a hardcore Price is Right fan, but that's what's going on here. It's a crossover between Twilight and Price is Right. Edward is the new host of Twilight, and Bella's one of the
Price is Right.
Price is Right, my bad. And Bella is one of the ladies that does stuff that calms down the participants or whatever. Yeah. So,
yeah, she gives them handies.
Yeah. So and we're resuming from last time on Dragon Ball Z. Edward's eating Bella out. So
with his fangs, which, by the way, has wonderful results.
I'm sure. I can't imagine that not being pleasurable.
I have done so with one of my exes, several, well, more than one, but she was a pretty big fan of it. Pretty big fan.
Well, I'm glad that I now know that information.
Yeah, I figured you really wouldn't be able to get by without it. So
could bounce around my noggin like a 22, man. All right. So from the last line, you intoxicate me. He whispered between my legs.
Like a 22.
Going to make you come.
That took a moment.
Going to make you come hard. I like that. Sounds like a wrestler or some shit. Yeah, brother.
Did they do the period? Was it like gonna make you come? Period. Hard.
Yeah.
Period?
Yeah. Imagine like Hulk Hogan like busting your door. Yeah, brother. Gonna make you come hard. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, brother.
Just go. I thought about it because he's saying brother. Like you're just chilling in bed and he just like busts in. He's like, yo, dude, what you doing, Hulk Hogan? Oh, brother, I'm gonna make you come hard. And he goes down on you with the mustache, man. Oh, my God. I'm sorry.
Just sandpapers the shit out of your junk.
Oh, man.
I just pictured him motorboating some, like, innocent victim, like... They're screaming in agony.
Yeah, they're not even like laying down anywhere. He just has them picked up by one hand and he's going ham on them. We haven't even got past the first line. We're almost done with this, actually. We might be able to finish it today. His frenzied tongue flickered across my clit, and I used my other leg to push him closer and grind into his into his face. That's getting pretty graphic. He moaned and dug his fingers into my flesh to keep me close. With each swipe, flick, and circling of my flesh, I grew closer to the brink. I struggled to keep hold of the railing, but finally let myself fall back against the stairs and let myself fully surrender to his touch. Holy shit, Edward. Oh my.
I'm calling it right now. This was written by a dude that has not been laid in a very long time.
It's possible. He's got a crush on Edward. Strong waves of pleasure washed over me as I was swept away by my orgasm. I struggled to find my breath, and when I looked down, he smiled up at me. I proceeded to have a seizure. That was not part of the story.
Up at me. Chin covered in juices.
I was thinking about that.
Like a basted turkey.
He just looks up with like a creepy ass smile, and he's got like, it's just fucking covered. Accidentally peed on him a bit or something. That's number 1. 2 more to go, love. He rested his face against my left thigh and wrapped his arms around my waist. You're so damn beautiful, girl.
Did he just threaten her with another seizure?
Yeah, he did. After the seizure was not actually part of that, might have been improv. After a few minutes, he lifted me up, adjusted my skirt, and carried me down the steps. Okay, wait, I'm trying to picture this. So his face is in her cooter.
He adjusted her skirt.
Oh, okay. I thought, I thought he was like holding her with her cooter still in his face, like walking around or something.
Her cooter. Jesus.
As we stepped away from the plinko board, I looked over my shoulder. I would never, ever be the same. Wait. It would never, ever be the same for me, nor for Edward. What happened on those stairs would be our dirty little secret. Jesus. It's Mother Nature's way of telling me to stop. She's killing me with sickness as I read this. So, Miss Swan, he said, getting back into his host character, it appears that all the other contestants today have spun over $1 on the big wheel. As you're, man, those people, how do you, people fucking greedy ass people. As you're our last player, by default, you're the winner. While a tad bit spent from our previous game, I managed to smile, and squeezed his hand. I knew I still had more to give and more to get. Yeah. He led me over to the third curtain. While pressing the button, he proudly announced, I present to you, Miss Swan, your showcase. I giggled when I noticed the same RV from today's taping. After doing a few jumps and impersonating Gary from earlier, I asked, are we going camping? Edward laughed and said, sort of. He tugged at my wrist. Follow me. We walked up to the RV and he opened the door, gesturing for me to enter. At first glance, the space was filled with more pink roses and illuminated by several candles. A trail of roses led to the bed, and the kitchen was covered with linen and a tray of luscious chocolate-dipped strawberries and a bottle of, I don't know how to pronounce this, I'm assuming it's wine, M-O-E-T, and the E has little dots above it, Moet, probably Moet, on ice awaited us. The boy had outdone himself yet again. Man, that's got me hungry. I love like fruit dipped in chocolate.
I'm gonna lousily write about erotica and get Kyle hungry.
Yeah, dude. The next hour was devoted to
luscious, that kills me. Luscious. Nobody thinks that. Nobody's like, oh look, luscious strawberries.
Yeah, no, and I've never heard anyone say that before. The next hour was devoted to us curling up in the bed and feeding each other strawberries. God fucking damn it. I thanked him for making my fantasy come true, in which he reminded me that his turn was next. Sometime in the next week, I was to wear my old waitress uniform when staying at his house. Okay, this is an actual line I'm about to read. I feared my poor butt cheeks were going to turn the shade of the roses surrounding us. Now, how romantic is that? Can you imagine, like someone that's actually getting off to this, right? That's the character that I assume while reading this, that someone's trying to get off to this, right? And just, you're like you're like, yeah. And you read the line, I feared my poor butt cheeks were going to turn the shade of the roses surrounding us. Instant limp. You would not be hard after that. As time passed,
butt cheeks is a super erotic word. I don't know what you're talking about. That's got to be hot to everyone.
Yeah.
That is dead.
All the kindergartners getting all flared. As time passed, I grew lightheaded from the champagne. That was a lightweight. Oh, dude, get it. There was a lull. There was a lull in our conversation. It was then I noticed how his eyes had darkened and his pupils had dilated. He leaned in for a kiss, and if a kiss could display need, this man had a longing I was only happy to oblige. It was time to cash in on that second Plinko chip, and hopefully the rest of my mini golf prize. I reached over the lapel of his coat and helped him peel it off. He threw it on the couch, and before I could even reach for his belt, he quickly rose. Was that
his dick that rose, or did he actually stand?
I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out. He was standing up. He shed the remainder of his clothes. It was quite a show, his eyes never leaving mine. He stood over the bed, allowing me a chance to get a nice look at his strong frame. The sight of Edward naked was something that would never get old. Taking his lead, I took to my knees on the mattress and pulled my top over my head. Edward's eyes remained locked on my body as I unhooked the red bra and slowly slipped each arm out of the straps. It made me feel so beautiful, especially when he had a slow intake of air as I revealed my boobles. I playfully threw the bra at him before shimmying out of my skirt. When I noticed Edward's cock hardening before me, I couldn't keep...
Did you just say aired my boobles?
That wasn't a word. It said breasts. I revealed my breasts.
Oh, I was going to say, if they followed boobles with cock, this is fucking prize-winning material.
I playfully threw the bra at him before shimmying out of my skirt. When I noticed Edward's cock hardening before me, I couldn't keep from making a show pun. You're rising faster than the alpine hiker. Oh, God. I have to recuperate from that. Give me 1 second.
Rising faster than the alpine hiker.
Is that one of the games on the show? There's like a little hiker that goes up. I think that is.
Dude, you gotta understand, the last time that I watched fucking The Price is Right, Bob Barker was a host, and I was like fucking 4. So I remember the big wheel. I remember all the contestants were fucking obnoxious. They were like fucking retirees from Florida, or fucking like so fat dude from Tampa.
It's so true.
Like they're all like, oh my, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, and then they always take their nasty ass hands and just start massaging their face. Oh my gosh, I got called up, and then they're covering their mouth, and then they walk up to Bob and they put a hand on his hand and go, Bob, I just love you. And then he goes, that's cool, but I'm banging these other chicks. So
yeah, exactly.
And then they spin the big wheel, and it goes for like ever.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes it does. Oh, okay. We'll save our.
That's all I remember, man.
They
always went in either a sailboat or a fucking new car or a motorhome.
Yeah. He laughed along with me and said, Bella, you and your Price is Right sexual innuendos. What's next? He pointed down to between his legs before adding, going to call.
Bella, you silly cad.
He pointed down to.
I want to meet the guy that wrote this and give him a hug and kiss on the cheek.
He pointed down to between his legs before adding, going to call him Roddy. I hadn't even thought of that one. Well done. I winked at him before turning away from him and getting on all fours. Okay, Roddy. We're getting some action. I arched my back and lifted my ass in a come hither way. Just what do you think you're doing?
How do you lift an ass in a come hither way?
You shake
Somebody
it,
come
dude.
hither is a finger motion.
No, dude, you shake
that is a
it.
Finger motion.
You shake it like a 3-6 or 1.
That is not a come hither. How do you come hither with an ass?
You shake it, man, in a circle. You like beckon him with your booty.
Beckoning, I could almost handle the word beckoning, but come hither is strictly a finger motion.
Yeah.
Unless he's got like I refuse.
Maybe she's
got that word that way.
She's got a finger by her butt or something.
She has a
butt finger.
Clit.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
She has a prehensile clit. That would be amazing.
A new fetish. I arched my back
and
lifted my ass in a come hither way. Just what do you think you're doing, taunting me like that? I cashed in on the other Plinko chip. I believe you know by now that this is my favorite position. Anal. Let's do it. In no time, I felt the mattress dip, and Edward was behind me. Dude, finally, we're getting some penetration. He teased me with his cock at my entrance while his hands dug into my hips. I arched my back further to have him glide across my folds. Ew.
My folds.
Like fat
butt folds? She has butt folds?
Or fat folds. Maybe this is like a fat Bella. My body shook with anticipation. So glad.
Is she still a vampire?
I don't know where this falls in the lore. So glad we no longer need condoms, he said. Maybe this is somewhere in the lore. They don't need condoms for one reason or another. Now it's so much easier to do this. He pushed forward in one thrust, filling me completely. Damn, she must have been wet as shit. Get the entire 3-inch penis in there instantly.
The ass doesn't lube on its own.
Oh, we're anal. Damn, that must have hurt.
Yeah.
Dude, all these hours of physical and mental foreplay had left me primed and ready. That's not how it works, Bella.
That does not how it works. It does not work that way. Like, you either gotta poke it in the vajayjay for a while to get lubed up and pop in, or you gotta use something that comes in a tube. It does not the ass does not lube unless the bitch has diarrhea. In which case, fucking that's kinkier than I imagined it was gonna be. Oh my god. Oh, that's a visual I'm fortunately not doing.
I have a headache. That instantly gave me a headache. I laughed so hard. I almost threw myself into a conniption or some shit. Oh god. Wait, where was I? Oh, I lost my spot. Okay. Okay. She was primed and ready in her butthole. Edward started off with deliberate and slow thrust. I had closed my eyes to focus on the way he pushed and pulled inside me. But when he grasped my hair and yanked it back, I knew seduction time was over. He claimed me hard. I wish they would have done that just
Hold on, wait. He pushed and pulled inside her. So his dick's like a grappling hook? I don't know. How is he
I don't know,
pulling
but
inside her?
he claimed her hard like Hulk Hogan. I'm going to claim you hard, brother. I like it.
I'm going to pull inside your vagina, brother.
And his balls slapped firmly against... Wait. His balls slapped firmly against my ass. What is going on? How? I'm so lost here.
Well, his dick isn't... If he's like built deep with his like plunger dick, and I mean your balls can still slap against the ass, I suppose. I mean that would work.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
don't know if this person has adequately experienced anal sex in any way, shape, or form.
We don't know.
Either giving or receiving, for them to be talking about it as they are. It does not work exactly the same.
He wrapped
the JJ.
Wait, in my story. He wrapped one hand around me and teased my clit. I struggled to stay upright as my knees grow weak. Bella, I want to hear you, he growled out in a deep voice, his breathing sounding as labored as mine. After just a few more thrusts, I cried out his name and redeemed yet another prize from the mini golf game. Awesome. He grew... Oh, excuse me. I burped in my... or threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Redeem a mini golf prize.
I don't know. He ground into my hips and gripped my hair tighter. Then he stilled himself and filled me with his release. Thank God no one else was on set. They'd surely have heard his groans. The RV made a squeaky noise as we rocked that sucker back and forth the rest of the night.
Squeaky noise! Squeaky noise!
With our lovemaking.
The best.
He gave me that remaining prized orgasm and then some. Finally exhausted and useless, we collapsed into one another's arms and nodded off into a deep slumber. Damn, she even cleaned herself? Just
exhausted and useless. They actually described Edward for what he is.
Yeah, dude. She just fell asleep with her butt filled with baby batter, man. You can't do that.
Have you seen how she acts? Like, that's not a surprise. I think that bitch could fall asleep in the middle of a fucking car race.
I abruptly
be working with a jackhammer and fall asleep.
I abruptly awoke to the sound of an engine starting. I jerked upright and lifted the sheets to cover me. Edward was awakened too, and his eyes went wide. I noticed a man behind the wheel. Oh shit, development. But he didn't seem to see me. Lay down again and stay quiet, he whispered. We'll try to sneak out in just a bit. He lifted the blanket over our heads, and we stayed as still as possible. My heart raced while I clung tightly to him. The RV moved for a few minutes before the driver turned off the engine and slammed the door behind him. Thank God he left, I said as I rushed out of the bed. I dressed quickly, which was hard to do with the way my hands were shaking. Edward dressed as well, and was peeked between the blinds in the window. Looks like the coast is clear. He reached for my hand, and we ran like bank robbers fleeing the scene. We dashed through the parking lot, darting between our cars. Oh, we're almost done. I'm going to finish it. Where was I?
So wait, let me get this straight. This RV is now coated in generous dollops of Bella's ass juice, and this guy is going to be receiving. This guy is going to be receiving
an
RV that smells like butt juice.
Yeah, and vampire cum.
Yeah, so
Man,
I assume that probably smells like mint or something. I don't know, but yeah, I'm a little concerned about an ass flavored RV. That's very disrespectful on her part.
I know, right? Come on now.
Nerve of some people.
I didn't think I breathed until
Febrezed it or something.
I know, right? I breathed until I shut the door of his car. Seconds later, Edward peeled out of the lot. I rested my head back and watched as the CBS studios grew smaller and smaller in the side view mirror. I turned to Edward. Do you think that man noticed us? I think we're fine. He's just a studio technician in charge of moving the RV out of the soundstage. Okay, no one was delivered an RV. I didn't think he'd arrived until later this morning. We remained in silence until he reached the gate to his home. Later that night, we watched an old movie in his home theater. I heard Edward's phone chime, and then he gasped. Even in the dim light, I could tell his face had turned white. He handed me this phone, and I saw a picture...
He said, did this guy watch the fucking movie? His face is the epitome of white. If he was any whiter, the bitch would be clear.
Yeah. He handed me his phone. I saw a picture of us curled up in the bed from the morning. It had been posted. It had been posted on a celebrity blog. Oh no. Luck was on our side, as the sheet had covered most of our bodies. Edward shook his head and said, I'd never would have thought Jim would sell us out. but I guess the price was right.
Oh. That alone made that whole trip worth it.
Oh my god.
I guess the price was right.
The end.
It's fucking beautiful. That's how he ended. That was the end.
Yep.
I guess the price was. That's fucking. And wow, that was a magical experience. I don't even know what that was.
That was beautiful. I'm a better man knowing this, so I think we can go ahead and move forward. But yeah, that was Kyle Runes, everybody. Oh man, hope you guys enjoyed that. I certainly did. I could say I'm a quarter chub right now, guys. A quarter chub. Can you believe it? That's like a millimeter. Oh goodness gracious. So let's move on to our news. And hopefully no noise, please no noise, please no noise, GameSpot. Okay, video's muted, we're good. Alright, so we got a couple news articles. Before we move on to our main topic, we're going to talk a little bit about things that have been going on in the gaming community. So, first, we have Splinter Cell's Sam Fisher has been teased for the new Ghost Recon Wildlands update. This is by Chris Pereira of GameSpot. Ubisoft recently confirmed plans for a second year of content for Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now, we have an idea of an exciting addition that may be coming in one of those future updates. Some kind of appearance by Splinter Cell's Sam Fisher. A new teaser trailer has been released that features Fisher speaking about heading to Bolivia, the setting of Wildlands. It also references his relationship with the game's ghosts, the squad of playable characters. We don't actually hear Fisher's name used, but the silhouette and accompanying night vision goggles leave little doubt about who we're looking at. Notably, the voice seems to be that of Michael Ironside, the longtime voice actor for Fisher. Ironside was absent from the most recent game, Splinter Cell Blacklist, with Eric Johnson taking over the role. What this means, if anything, for future Splinter Cell games is unclear. The teaser video concludes by saying more information will be shared on Monday, April 9th, so we don't have to wait long to find out exactly what Fisher's role in Wildlands will be. So, neither of us played Wildlands.
Is a moronic idea.
Let's
take a guy from a quality game series known for like stealth and intelligent combat, and then except for that last one, and put him into a game with dull and boring one-dimensional protagonists and horrible AI and just overall not a great game. It's brilliant idea, guys.
Yeah, I don't know what the intention here is unless they rework some of the gameplay, because there is very loosely stealth elements. I cannot be air quoting harder. I might break my fingers. There are stealth elements in the game. So there might, if they build a mission around just the game's mechanics and you get to play with Sam Fisher, I don't know how the fuck they're going to do it. But they've had other stuff like this. They had the Predator update where you could actually hunt down and kill the Predator in the forest, which I heard was pretty cool. And now they recently...
What?
Yeah.
They put Predator in Ghost Recon?
Yeah. They're doing everything in this game. It's fucking insane.
All right, I played that game, and those Nimrod characters are not going to survive combat with this is not Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers, okay? Or that badass Indian guy that we didn't even get to see die. He just cuts his chest. He's like, I'm going to kick some ass, and then he's beheaded.
Oh, that's sad. So,
oh, come on. Tell me you've seen the original Predator, dude. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I've seen the original Predator. It just was a long time ago. Long time ago. It's been a while. So... Next news article. I'm sure all of you that give any slight of shit about PS4 have heard about this. But Spider-Man PS4 does have a release date. September... Fuck. I have the article sitting in front of me and I don't even know. I think it's September 7th. September 7th. Spider-Man PS4.
Spider-Man Assassin's Creed.
September 7th, 2018. So we have... All the fears have been swept away. Spider-Man will be coming out this year. And that has me fucking pumped. So, we're going to talk real quick about this. This is some of just updates surrounding Spider-Man now that we're slowly starting to learn about the game as it gets closer to its release date. This is Spider-Man PS4 will have no microtransactions and is locked at 30 FPS. Also, Mary Jane is a playable character. This is Eddie Macick of GameSpot.
Mary Jane?
No idea. We finally know
that... a playable character?
We finally know that Insomniac's new Spider-Man game for PlayStation 4 is coming out in September. But that's not all we learned about the anticipated Sony exclusive this week. Game Informer asked creative director Brian Intihar 114 rapid-fire questions. And among the things that he revealed is that there are no microtransactions and that the game is locked at 30 FPS. Now, this is important, on PS4 and PS4 Pro. Additionally, he confirmed that Mary Jane is a playable character. So, a couple things. These are some notable things that will be that were part of this question rapid fire. So the game will look and run a little better on PS4 Pro, but will still be at 30 frames. Mary Jane is a playable character, and she will, quote, surprise a lot of people. At this point in the story, she does know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. The game's open world is several times bigger than that of Insomniac's last big game, Sunset Overdrive. Will there be microtransactions? Hell no. Will we see Uncle Ben's death? Hell no. It was kind of a dumb question after they know that Mary Jane's already known that Spider-Man, he has to have been doing this for a long time by now.
Is this based off the comic book?
I have no idea, dude. I'm not.
This is based off the comic book I actually play, but I thought they were using the ugly ass suit with the white stripes from the movie.
Well, it's got a white spider on the front of it, but
no, he had that pinstriping, that weird ass ugly pinstriping shit from in the movie. You remember?
Yeah, no, it's not the Avengers Spider-Man that we have here. This is.
Oh, okay. Thank God, I'm all about it then.
Oh no, this is like old Peter Parker. This is its own kind of. I don't know what comic. I know that Mr. What's his name? Mr. Negative, is that his name? I know he's in here, but they talked about that there'll be other Spider-Man villains, so we might see the terrible. What's it called? The
Sinister
group of
Six.
Sinister Six. I was gonna say the terrible four.
Wow. Oh no, it's Doc Ock and random other members.
So
depends on what iteration you're talking about.
It would be cool if
Electro.
If we see something along the lines of like Arkham Asylum, where it's like just a hodgepodge of Spider-Man villains that you deal with throughout the game. That'd be pretty dope. I don't know how much sense that makes to the lore of the game, or the comics, but it looks cool. Older Peter Parker. I think I don't know. Does he marries Mary Jane, right?
Yeah, they were married.
Okay, I don't know if they'll be married already in this, but it seems like he's been doing this for a while. I don't know. I have no idea. There's not a lot I know. Some of you may know. If you do, definitely let us know, because I'm excited about this game. It looks really cool. There is DLC.
It's been so long since they've accommodated the longtime comic fans in a Marvel property that I'm actually... It's always one of the parallel universe things or fucking the cinematic universe. So that actually is much more exciting than I imagined it would be.
Yeah. So a couple more things. DLC is planned for after launch. There's a crafting system apparently, and you can take selfies with civilians and high five them. I don't know why that would be one of the rapid fire questions, whatever. Insomniac has announced premium versions of the game that will come with this DLC. There's a $150 collector's edition that comes with a statue, art book, and in-game content. So definitely pumped that Spider-Man is actually coming this year, although it is coming at a weird time, just a little bit before Black Ops 4 and Red Dead 2. I don't give a fuck about either of those games. I actually care a little bit more about Spider-Man than I do about Red Dead. But I was never really a gigantic fan of the original. So I'm definitely excited that we finally know when this game's coming out. We have a feasible date that we can look at and cry in joy and cross off on our calendar and just fucking masturbate to at night. So I'm super excited. We got one more article real quick before we move on to our box office tops. Oh, damn, I'm doing the news way too early. I put it in the wrong place in the outline. It's supposed to be way after everything else, but that's fine. You're getting news early, guys. I did this for you. I don't know. We never have a good episode. All right, so Fortnite Mobile is actually out for everyone on iOS. No word on Android currently, but iOS is officially open to all. This is Chris Pereira of GameSpot. While Android users continue to await word on when they'll get access, Epic Games has wrapped up its invite-only iOS test for Fortnite Mobile, and everyone with a supported iOS device can now dive into the widely popular game, which is playable in its entirety for free on phones and tablets. Fortnite has been a free download on the iOS App Store since the debut of the test in March, though only those who were granted access could actually log in. If you haven't played already, go to Epic's website to create an account to play. You'll need one of the following devices, basically iPhone SE to the and
I
I'm
don't
not reading
understand
all
how
these
that
fucking
would work.
things. Probably not well. I mean, you're probably using touch controls to move and aim. I don't even know. I haven't tried it. I don't really give a shit about Fortnite, in all honesty. But it is a big topic, and I could put a tag for it in the podcast description. So, while that's unfortunate for users if you don't have proper hardware, it's a surprisingly complete version of the game, weekly challenges and all. So that's cool. If you guys out there, you enjoy Fortnite, you have another way to play it. Although I can't imagine sitting on my phone in public or whatever playing a round of Fortnite. I don't know. I don't know if there's crossplay. I don't know how it arranges everyone. But I've heard this game is making like $1.3 million a day since it's been fully released, which is just absolutely mind-boggling.
I don't understand how. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I like it a little bit. Mostly, just I like playing it with Hector because we have fun. But it's
We need
mostly
to get
because
back
it's
into
us
the
playing it.
PvE or even the PvP because we could do it's crossplay, like I was saying, so we could play with each other.
Yeah, but the PvP is garbage.
No, I'm saying the PvE.
Yeah, like I'm good with the PvE.
We
That
need
was
to do
the
that.
fun part. But
Yeah.
the whole fucking
Battle
I
Royale.
don't know, man. The Battle Royale thing could be interesting to me, but the way that it's been implemented thus far is, I guess it was fresh the first time, which was like 4 games ago before PUBG made it popular. But I don't know, it's the same shit over and over again.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's the Battle Royale idea. I'm not a big fan of sandbox shooters. So like Battlefield, and like these Battle Royale games, I'm just like, I'd like an area where you're given a map that is tight, and a lot of the fights consist of knowing the map and knowing where altercations occur, and it's more of a knowledge battle than just you happen to stumble on someone running the direction that you're not or that you are facing already, and you just easily kill them. Although Fortnite has elements that add skill with the building, so you can defend yourself against something like that happening. But I'm just not a fan of. I guess you could say I'm not a fan of being shot in the back, and it happens a lot more often in games like Battlefield and Battlefront and these Battle Royale games. Like, I hate one of the worst things that's ever is you land really well, you have a bunch of loot, and you're good to go, and you run for 30 minutes, not see a single person, and then get shot in the head from a mile. You don't even see anyone the entire game, and there you go. There goes 30 minutes of your life. I hate that fucking feeling. So when that shit happens, which happens often, you might see more people than not. It also depends on where you land, but I hate when that happens. That shit pisses me off. I'm like, why am I doing this? I could be doing something else and enjoying myself much more. So that's that. Again, news has been relatively calm. Nothing too out of the ordinary. The Spider-Man news is definitely huge, and I'm super pumped to see more from this game as they continue to leak stuff here and there as it gets closer to September. So definitely excited. So let's move on to our...
I need to remember to pre-order the collector's edition.
Yeah, that statue looks pretty cool. It looks pretty dope. So moving forward, we have our box office tops. So we have some movies, see how they've been doing.
Ready Player One.
And Ready Player One is one of them. We'll talk about that after we discuss our tops. So at number 1, Shawn, guess what you think is at number 1?
Ready Player One.
It is not actually. A Quiet Place.
Better be.
A Quiet
Really?
Place.
A Quiet Place beat Ready Player One?
For this, remember, this Ready Player One is in its second week. So A Quiet Place is just started. It's got a huge amount of praise through like word of mouth and stuff like that. So it made for this week.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. Worldwide, it's made 71 million so far. For this weekend that we're talking about, it made 50 million, just U.S. domestic, 71 across the world, and it's got only a budget of $17 million. Again, it's in its first week. At number 2, we have Ready Player One, making 25 mil domestic for the weekend, pulling a total gross of 391 million worldwide. So it's actually made a shitload more money foreign than it has domestic, which is interesting. It's only made $96 million domestically and $294 million foreign.
Well, it's an intelligent movie. So, yeah, of course, America's not going to go see it.
A lot of people were well, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Skeptical, I guess, because I think the trailers, I don't know if they did a good job, because a lot of it was trying to get people into theaters, which is what a trailer does, I guess. But a lot of it, I think it come off as this is just a movie for gamers that's filled with Easter eggs and stuff like that, where the movie wasn't necessarily like that. I mean, of course, there's a shitload of stuff for everyone that's a fan of pop culture to enjoy, but it also told a story, albeit a story that's kind of common for something you'd see in a book, but still a story it told, and it was not just blowing your face up with pop culture references the entire 2 hours. So I think a lot of people were skeptical about the movie, but it dropped 40% from its first week. It only made $25,000 this weekend. So I'm glad it's making its money though. It must have cost a shitload.
I really expected it to pull like a fucking Star Wars and a Black Panther. I'm very disappointed that fucking Star Wars did better than that with Mahu Shoujo, Princess Leia.
Magical girl Princess Leia got me fucking dead. All right, so that's Ready Player One. Number 3, we have blockers, or otherwise known as cock blockers, with John Cena. They just don't say the word cock, I guess, because you can't say that word. It's not allowed. It's a bad one. You
the comedy?
Yeah, you get a slap on the wrist for saying cock.
Oh, I think I may have to see that.
So that this weekend for its first week made $21 million with a budget of $21 million, and worldwide it made $32 million. So that's that. I don't see movies that often, so I might not see that. Maybe when it comes to DVD or to like on demand or whatever. At number 4, can you believe it? Still holding on. Black Panther pulling $8 million for the weekend, sitting at week 8 with a total worldwide of $1,300,000,000. So, Jesus Christ, the movie's made a shitload of money. Best thing since sliced bread, I'll have you know, according to everyone that you ask on the street. And at number 5, we have, surprisingly, I mean, I guess there's not much else. I Can Only Imagine is still up there in the top 5, pulling $8 million for the weekend, sitting at a total gross of $70 million with a budget of $7 million in its 4th week. So that's the top 5. That's how the movies are going.
Best thing since sliced bread is strong. I mean, it has just as many flaws as any other superhero movie.
I was fucking around, but if you ask anyone, I'm saying it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone will praise that movie on their grandmother's grave.
Well, I mean, you have to, because that's what's expected of you. It was good. I enjoyed it, but it had some really stupid parts, and fucking killing Claw was captain among them.
Yeah.
That, and like, I think it had a fairly solid message without them having to like incorporate a bunch of SJW stuff. It would have been, I think, stronger, because it would have seemed more, I don't know, legitimate.
Yeah. All right. Box office out the way.
I liked it.
Yes, box office out the way. We don't have a review corner. Hopefully we could get one for next week. I'd like to talk about Violet Evergarden. If I could get Caitlyn to man up and sit down and watch it with me.
We got a review. We're going to review Ready Player One.
Oh, fuck, you're right. Okay. I completely forgot about that.
Of course I'm right. I'm Shawn.
All right, Shawn, I'm going to have you go first. I know you were much more excited, although I was excited for this movie. I know you were much more excited for this movie than I was.
Hell yeah.
What did you think about Ready Player One?
I really, 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 really liked it. The only objection I might have to it is it's fairly compressed. So characters that have significant emotional arcs go through them very quickly. Spielberg's the master of humanity and the human condition. So he's really good at taking somebody through whatever kind of emotional cycles they should be going through in a very efficient but believable manner. He's excellent at doing that. If you watch his history, most of his movies don't have pacing problems. They don't feel too fast or too slow. They're very well thought out. And this one, I can see that it's mostly there, but like when there's a tragedy or when there's a huge emotional development, it all happens too quickly, or they get over it too quickly. You have a character that falls in love with another character with almost no provocation whatsoever. Like they talked twice, did one little thing together, and he's like, "I'm in love with you," and I'm like, "What?" Like, crush, yes. She's banging, yes. Okay, I'm crushing on you. I like this. I want to be around you more, but I'm in love. What are you, fucking nuts?
Sounds like an
Like,
anime
that was the
character.
first time I got kicked out of the movie, was when that happened. Yeah, I was like, that's not real. That moment that just happened here was not real within the confines of the fiction of this movie. That did not feel realistic.
It's
And then the
interesting
only...
because
What?
it's almost like the movie doubles back on itself in that moment too, because the character he's speaking to when he says that reprimands him for it right away. Like, no, you're not. You're obviously just off your rocker. This isn't. You've never seen me. You don't know what I look like. This is all something that I've made. This isn't the real me. How do you know that you're in love with me? And they have that, although it's in the middle of a bunch of other shit going on, but that moment is happening, and it also it points out, because you see stuff like that happen. I mean, you wouldn't hear about it often, like someone falling in love with someone else in a video game, but people falling in love with just fictional characters. You see stuff like that happen, and it is a thing that happens in this world. And it brings up an interesting point on that. That's like, this is not real. This is something that
I was fairly disappointed in that moment. Like, and even if he had fallen in love with her near the end of the movie, before they met in person, like if that moment had happened like an hour later and they had more development, she should have still had that speech with him.
Oh yeah,
it would have been different. The tonality would have been different because she would have had feelings too, but she would have been fighting with logic. But still, it just, that didn't feel right at all. And the other thing that really threw me out, the only other huge complaint really, is the moment when somebody significant to the main character dies. You see him shell shocked, and I'm like, all right, cool, this is nailed. I feel it. And then the very next scene, oh my God, you're totally, I still like you. Like, I mean, literally 30 seconds later, he's talking to her on a rooftop, and he's like, by the way, I still think you're hot. You know, like, I mean, really, you're just like an hour ago, like your entire world blew up in smoke. An hour, like that was just you were super fast on that one. Like that was so like, how do you go and from intense?
Man's gotta get his dick wet, dude.
That was just such a big mistake, especially for Spielberg. I was surprised that he let that moment, those two moments through, but the rest of it, I mean, it is an adventure movie. It's an all-ages adventure movie. Oh, I'd say a PG-13, PG crowd. I mean, if your
they
kid
say the F word, man.
The word fuck once. You can say the word fuck once in a PG-13 movie.
I love the way that they use their one fuck budget, though. That scene was funny.
Who was it that said it? Was it H?
No, it was one of the random Sixers.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's fucking, and then you know what happened. Yeah,
that was fucking epic. There were so many times when I was jumping up and down in my seat, and the whole time I was watching the movie, I was calling every character and Easter egg I saw. Like, I was just saying it out loud. Like, me and my buddy next to me were bouncing back and forth, and I was calling it. And the one thing I'm proud of that I saw that nobody to date has seen that I've talked to was I saw the gremlin. There is one scene where this little creature runs up and he jumps and he attaches to a dude's face, and the dude goes over, one of the IOI guys.
Yeah.
And it was one of the green gremlins, not Mogwai. I also called like a shitload of the graffiti, like a full half of the 300 something Easter eggs in the movie, the throwbacks and shit, were graffiti on the walls. Like, there was a Mogwai and a ton of shit, and Spielberg had him remove a ton because he didn't want too many callbacks to his own movies. Like, he wanted to do other stuff. And he was mentioned fairly prevalent in the book, so he had them remove a lot of stuff, but they snuck a bunch past anyway because the digital artists were like, fuck you, Spielberg, you're a god, and we're gonna put you in here. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was one of the most fun times I've had in the movies in a long time. The last time I walked out of a theater this satisfied with a film was it. And before that, I can't even remember. Like, usually I go and it's an okay adventure, but I have some complaints. I loved it. I really loved it. It's just those 2 moments. It hurts because you can't go back and change them, and I'm a little tweakish. I'm neurotic with that shit. So every time I watch the movie, I'm gonna get 2 giant dissatisfaction wounds every time those 2 parts pass. The rest of it, I fucking love. The main character's a little lackluster in terms of, I mean, he does a good job. Ty Sheridan's not bad by any means, but he just didn't. He felt just a little too nerdy, a little too out of touch, a little too, I don't know, sheltered, or well, not really sheltered, but there's just a little too much of that to him.
Yeah.
But the main character in the books wasn't far off from that. So I think they did a great job. Again, it was heavily condensed. If you're a huge fan of the book, I promise you're going to be disappointed. That's why I waited to see the movie first before I watched the book, so I could have that memory of how much I enjoyed it. I made the mistake of reading Jurassic Park long before I knew there was going to be a movie, and then I watched the movie, and through the whole, it was my first time experiencing this, where I'm like, that didn't happen, that happened differently, this was different, and I walked out of the movie going, I really liked it, but I didn't have the same magical experience that everyone else did watching it, because I had read the book, and I knew it was so much better. There was so much more that they could have done. So if you haven't read the book before the movie, if you haven't seen the movie, watch the movie first. That way you can get that maximum enjoyment and then go and read the book.
I still don't understand is how can someone who's read a book that's like a shitload of pages still go and watch a 2-hour movie expecting that entire experience without flaw. I don't know how people can go to a theater.
Well, yeah, no. I guess you kind of do. But
well, yeah, you do because you enjoyed it so much.
When I've read the book and I really appreciated the movie anyway, it's how you make the transition. Like the Crow film was nothing like the comic book, but I really enjoyed both. As a matter of fact, in some ways, the story flows a lot smoother in the Crow movie than it does in the book, because the book jumps all over the place. And there's certain scenes that were choreographed just a lot better than the book. And I know that, Crow fans everywhere might light me on fire, but y'all need to fucking know I worship at the church of Crow. I just have 2 churches. One's the book, one's the movie, and to me they stand equal. So I think it's possible to go and expect like what Marvel does for the most part when they're not injecting SJW shit into their movies, is they capture the spirit of the book, but they don't capture the book itself. Like they do different things with it. Like the only thing they didn't really get right was Thor, and it was so entertaining that you don't care. But yeah. I know Thor diehards that still enjoyed Thor, even though it wasn't Thor. It was an adventure guy that looks like Thor. Yeah. Thor doesn't have much of a sense of humor. He speaks very anachronistically. I mean, he's a brute. He's like a fucking Viking dude. He's cool as shit, but he's not anything like he is in the movies. Like, really. And the farther along you get in the movies, the more it departs from the source material. And that's okay. Sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. And with this one, I feel like the departures were okay. They took some of the darker tones out, and that's okay. They turned it into Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, more like the first movie was much more like, well, I don't know, I wouldn't really say that, but it's neither here nor there. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good. I give it, a 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, something like that. Those 2 scenes really fucking pushed me.
Has to be out of 5, and you have to include something. Oh, remember, you have to keep put a word in there.
I give it 4 Atari controllers out of 5.
Hey, that's a good one. Okay, cool. Yeah, I would have to agree with you for the most part. I also have not read the book. I've heard from a few people that have, that thought going into it, obviously, again, if you read a book, you go to watch the adaptation of that book, you probably won't get the same exact experience. They have to compress for time. That he said that it was a decent adaptation. For the most part, there were some things here and there that were not the same, obviously, but he still enjoyed it for what it was. And if you go into this movie thinking you're just going to have a fun time, you're not looking for anything super deep happening here, you're going to have a fun time, especially if you're a pop culture fan, especially from like the 80s to today. And there's a bunch of stuff for all ages there. They had a fucking Minecraft world that they showed off for a small amount of time. They have it again. It's a very family. My mom was with us and she loved the movie. And
it was great.
She went.
Go ahead. Sorry. One last gripe. if you're doing a movie about pop culture, and I realize that Spielberg may have been contractually obligated, or maybe it's just because I don't know why he did this, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are in it, but they're not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They should have been.
They're the Michael Bay Turtles.
Yeah, they were the Michael Bay Turtles, and they should have been they should have been the Turtles from the old movies. They should have been those turtles. That would have made so much more sense. Or an animated version, or even the Nickelodeon series, not that ghetto ass fucking Dexter's Lab looking bullshit that they're pushing out now. Did you see it? It's so gross.
No,
but I'm talking like they should not have used those turtles. If they were going with a nostalgia trip, using the Michael Bay turtles was an insult. That would probably be my only other gripe. So I'm sorry.
Look at King Kong. They used his original design concepts in his character in game. I don't know. I understand what you're saying. It was cool to see him, but then you get that dirty taste of Michael Bay in your mouth, and then it doesn't wash out. No matter how much popcorn or soda you drink.
Prison rape, honestly.
Oh my god. Okay. But a very fun movie. A lot of it was I enjoyed, for the most part, the way the characters carried the story forward. The main character, I mean, he had maybe his moments here and there, but his supporting characters were really good. Seeing the way they acted, especially H and his
holy shit, the fucking motel. Oh my god, that was epic.
Yes, that was so much fucking fun. And it's, again, even the way they did that whole scene, and it looked like it was exactly from the movie, like it was almost something ripped from the movie and they put the characters in. Another thing is this movie is heavily CG, but I thought the mocap and the CG was very good. Like, pretty much all of it was amazingly well done. And I think this kind of falls into the realm where if everything is CG, the CG can't really look bad because you don't have real people, for the most part, don't have real people standing on top of it. Like, if you were to have, like, like Superman flying with his arms out, but he's actually Superman, and then the background is a green screen, that has a chance of looking bad if it's not done correctly. If Superman's CG and the background is CG, everything's on the same plane, you don't get that disconnect that comes from noticing the fact that it looks like Superman's just being held on a harness. So since a lot of this movie is already in the realm of CG, you can't really, I can't really sit there and say it's bad. One of the issues with if the mocap was garbage, but I thought the mocap was really well done. And the movie was really pretty. There was a lot of really cool scenes, like near the end, the final fight, which everyone knows about because you see it on all the trailers, where they had like a lot of the IOI guys going out at the same time, and you just get a cut of the whole room like turning red in like a wave. I thought a lot of the shots from the film were really cool. Seeing I don't know, it just looked like it was. I liked some of the shots that they had. So again, everything from music. One thing that made me sad is that one song, the remix of
from the trailer, wasn't it? Yeah,
the remix of "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" wasn't in the. Was it "Somewhere Over the Rainbow"?
No, it was the Willy Wonka song.
That one. My bad.
The one he sings at the end of the movie.
Yeah. And that remix, which was fantastic in the trailer, like that shit got me pumped. It was not in the movie.
That wasn't a remix, dude. That was a full. They completely remade the song. It was a cover.
Okay, that's what the word is. But I'd have to agree. I enjoyed the movie a lot. Then again, there were some slight issues here and there, but I'd have to give it 4. Let me think here. I think this actually may work, but 4 shots of Tracer from Overwatch out of 5. I think there was actually 4 shots of her in the movie.
Yeah, and there was one of Reaper. I saw, Jesus, I can't even remember. I saw Duke Nukem. I saw Sagat from Street Fighter. I saw Zangief from Street Fighter.
They had the green dude was there too.
Freddy Krueger.
The guy that uses electricity.
Oh yeah, Blanca.
Yeah, Blanca
was dancing with Chun-Li. Yeah, he was dancing with Chun-Li.
Yo, what got me and Caitlyn, one thing that Caitlyn pointed out that she thought was really cool is that when they were showing the people, everyone doing the final assault on the final area, a lot of the people that were the same were fighting in groups. So like you had like 7 like Spartans from Halo running up and shit like that, and it was just cool to see that. On top of the fact of seeing a motherfucking Gundam fighting motherfucking.
I was saving that. I wasn't going to mention that. But
it was in the trailer. You see the Gundam in the trailer.
I didn't see that.
That's what got me so pumped. In one of the trailers, they show the Gundam, but seeing a fucking Gundam.
That Gundam was beast mode.
Oh my god!
Even though it was kind of racist to fucking take the Asian kid and make him know karate and pilot a Gundam, like that part was a bit. Yeah, I was like, come on, Spielberg, it's not the '80s anymore. This isn't Long Duck Dong.
I think it's kind of like, kind of like a SAO thing, where because they need to fight in the game, they kind of are able to replicate those movements in real life. Because the main character, Wade, he pulls out some karate moves while he's fighting at some time. Matrix. Yeah, so.
But yeah.
I think it's kind of like
I think all like my two favorite. I love the character design for what's her name? Artemis. Artemis's character design was fucking epically good, and H was like the best. H was fucking awesome. Her character. Oh, well, that was a spoiler, but that character was fucking just the best. Oh, so good.
Could just let it go. No one would have ever noticed.
Yeah, I loved H. H was fucking awesome.
Yeah, and again, I'd never felt like these references were ever like too heavy-handed, where they're not like shoving it in your face, like, look, you like this, don't you? Like it, and they're like shoving it down your throat. That never really happens. It's just stuff that it feels like it's very organic to the world. Like if someone can make their character look like anything, of course they'd make it look like their favorite shit. Look at goddamn VR
RoboCop was in there.
Look at VR chat. This game is like a souped up VR chat pretty much, which is a huge diss on the movie. It's not intended, but like all these people in VR chat that just make themselves look like characters that they like or trying to be a meme or something. That's exactly what this is. Of course they'd make interesting like licensed properties who they'd want to be in the game. So again, never thought anything was too heavy-handed. But yeah, 4 Tracer appearances out of 5. I like the movie a lot, and I think you should see it. It's pretty good. So with that out of the way, I don't know if I said the what to look. No, I didn't. We have a small what to look for segment this week as we move into getting closer to God of War, getting pumped for that game, which looks really fucking good, by the way. And just moving forward through April, we have one game coming out this week called Extinction for PS4, Xbox One, and PC on April 10th. Now, if I remember correctly, isn't this that game that's like Attack on Titan but with ogres? I think it might be.
I don't know anything about it. I haven't heard of it, but I've been out of the loop recently.
It gave me the dictionary. It gave me the fucking dictionary term. No, it is not. I thought there was a game coming out at one point or another where I don't know if it's out yet, but it's like it looks just like Attack on Titan, but it's like with ogres, like big ass green ogres. It's weird. So that's that for the what to look for. Not much coming out this week. So get into that fucking backlog. Whoever you tuning in, you got a backlog. I'm sure you do. You get to those games, man. You got a full week and nothing coming out to play your backlog. Better get to it. Drop them multiplayer games. If you haven't finished Persona 5, you haven't finished Nier, you haven't finished Horizon, you haven't finished any of these fantastic games, you better get your ass on that fucking backlog. Or I'm going to come over to your house and I'm going to suck your dick. So, moving forward, for our main topic, I talked about it a little bit earlier. We're going to delve a little bit into this. I had a inspiration for this from hearing recently about this little slight amount of issue with Far Cry 5, which has been out for a bit. I've heard it's a really good game. I don't give a shit about Far Cry, but what's happening around Far Cry 5 has interested me. So there's a couple of review sites, gaming publications that have made the reviews about Far Cry and have said something interesting, that they're confused. They're confused on the themes of this game. And Far Cry 5, for those of you who may not know, haven't touched the game, haven't been paying attention to it, is about a religious cult set in, I think, Montana. And that's it. A religious cult in Montana. This game had started production a long time ago. But there's been confused gaming publications because there are things like this cult. One thing I heard from one of them, I don't remember his name was. I don't want to name drop anybody that I'm talking shit about. But he had said that this is a religious cult but there's still black people in it. And he's confused as to why. Like, so a lot of people had this. Hear me out. A lot of people had this preconceived notion that this game had white supremacy in it, right? Because it was about. What? Okay. Again, let me finish.
Where did they get that from?
Because we're talking about a religious cult in Montana. Now, if you look at our current climate politically, we're not going to get too deep into this. If you associate, usually a lot of people today, if you ask them, they'll usually make the connection between someone that is highly religious as to being not, I wouldn't say a white, like straight up white supremacist, but someone that would be racist in one way or another, right? Now that, again, these are generalizations. You can't go ask everybody, but this is a preconceived notion. So a lot of these people, especially a lot of these publications, a lot of them are in California or in that area. A lot of them are left-leaning. Again, I'm not trying to get too political, but we saw the same thing with Kingdom Come Deliverance, right? This game comes out supposed to be historically accurate. Someone hears that there's a 0.03% chance that black people could have lived in this area at that time and have a bitch fit because there's no black people in the game, right? Because the game's supposed to be historically accurate. And that was legitimate articles were written up about that. People complaining about that.
Wow.
Now, one thing this again, we're not going to talk about any of the political aspects of this. One thing that has me interested is with the review process in general and being critically analytical about games, video games. And a lot of it is one thing that I think when someone sits down to review a game and they come in with, again, a preconceived notion. Say you're playing Far Cry 5 and you had the thought that there would be white supremacy in this game when it's about a religious cult. First of all, we have to look back that Far Cry 5 has been in development for quite some time, a couple years. So first, our political climate back then would not necessarily look like the political climate we have today. First things first. And I think when people review a game, a lot of it, of course, hindsight being 2020, the first thing you see in a game is what can be better, right? And a lot of the times when a review is written about a game, obviously you're not going to just give it a perfect score and throw it out there. You're being analytical. You're trying to answer something. But I think a lot of the time reviewers, when they talk about something like this, they'll skip this one idea that a game is being made. Obviously, you're making a game, but not only are you making a game, you're serving a purpose. You're trying to either tell a story, leave a message, create a fun game, or something along those lines. And this game, when it is sent out into the public, has a purpose of some sort, right? Every artist, when they sit down to make their art, and I am connecting video games with art, the same way I would with like anime, movies, music, anything. When they sit down and conceive the basic ideas of this project that they have in mind, they have a purpose for their art. So one interesting thing, I think, when it comes to reviewing a game, they a lot of the time, it's about what a game could have been, instead of looking on top of the fact that a game, what the purpose of the developer making this game. So if you look at the purpose of Far Cry 5, Far Cry, on top of the fact of having fun and crazy villains, has a fun sandbox, a crazy sandbox, right? Usually Far Cry doesn't ever really take off in the way of telling a super enthralling story. It's more of dropping you in a world with characters that interest you and a world and sandbox that can keep you busy, basically. And I was just thinking about this earlier, and one thing, and I know we talked on a lot about games that ways we could think are better or worse, and the topic also came out with Ni no Kuni. Obviously, when you play a game, you want the best for it, and with Ni no Kuni, you want to see it do well, you want to see it be better for future installments and things like that. And I think we kind of shared this, what's going on with Far Cry and these reviewers. You and me kind of shared kind of an idea of that too, where initially you were looking on how what we wanted the game to be. Like, we wanted a deeper story. We wanted more mechanics. And as you settled into the game, you kind of saw that the artists or the developers' purpose for it was something that would be more laid back, something that wasn't necessarily telling a deep story, but something that was pseudo interesting, right? And I'm just thinking of the line, like, where do we draw the line where a game, when it comes out, who exactly can say that this game is bad because it didn't complete this checklist? You kind of get what I'm saying? So,
well, there's two relationships in any art. There's the relationship between the artist and their creation, and the relationship between the creation and the consumer, whoever consumes the art, whether they're looking at it, playing it, listening to it, whatever. And the relationship between the consumer and the artwork has nothing to do with the artist, and the artist has no rights to that relationship. So, in all honesty, anyone can say anything they want to, and they have every validity to do so. That doesn't mean they're not fucking morons, but there's really nothing to push against that. There's nothing. There's no reason why they couldn't or shouldn't, except, again, the morons should not have the right to talk. But outside of that, like, free speech and shit,
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I'm not saying that these reviewers shouldn't be reviewing games anymore, but I'm just.
I think if you watched the trailer for Far Cry and you thought it was about white supremacists, you probably shouldn't be reviewing games.
Well,
or if you think that black people can't be a part of a fucking religious cult, or any people for that matter, you're fucking dumb as shit.
Yeah, I never once, I don't know how these people, again, came in with this preconceived notion, because I never once looked at Far Cry 5 and thought it was trying to tell a bigger message on race in any way, shape, or form. I saw that it was a religious cult. It happened to be located in Montana, and this crazy shit's going on, and you're trying to detain this dude because of what they're doing, and they're not allowed to be doing this. Of course, they live in the United States. So I never once looked at it while it was being marketed and looked at it and thought, damn, this is going to tell such a great message about race and how we all have to live to better one another and kumbaya and all that shit. I only saw it as hey, we're going to kill some radical Christians. And that's pretty much what it was about.
They're not Christians. I mean, I would say we're going to kill some cultists, but I wouldn't call anyone in that game a Christian.
Well,
that's very strong words.
They're going under that again. What they're doing would not be considered Christian, but that's what they're claiming themselves as. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, if you look at, you wouldn't consider what the fucking, God damn it, what is it? What the Crusades did, went and genocided countries that wouldn't convert. You wouldn't really consider those actions Christian, but they claim themselves to be that in that time, right?
That's a valid counterpoint. I'll give you that. Well, I mean, you got to remember, Ubisoft does Far Cry, right?
Yes, they do. Let me see.
Ubisoft is always proud of their ability to be edgelords. So, I mean, if you think about the last Far Cries where people claimed racism because they went to a fucking island and there's that crazy chick who fucks you and rubs your boobies in your face and then stabs you. Like, they're more than happy to provoke people for publicity and do something that, are people, because, I mean, you have people come out of the woodwork then going, oh, racism and blah, 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 and you're a bad person, and etc. And granted, I mean, Christians make easy targets, which I think is bullshit. But then again, there's a lot of other easy targets out there too, and people don't get upset when now they do. But point being is, like, you got to look at it with a grain of salt and go, this isn't about me. This isn't about my belief systems, if you happen to have those systems. This is about monster people who are taking, good ideas and twisting them to their own nefarious needs, and they need to go and eat a salted bullet right up in their fucking maw.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. You put lots of bullets in their faces.
Yeah, so...
Although the only thing that gets me about this game, the thing that I immediately call bullshit on, is if there was a cult doing that kind of shit, the FBI would have fucking iced them before, your hero character even has a chance to run in and do anything.
Well, the thing is, it's weird because you're a U.S. Marshal and you are going in to detain them, but your helicopter crashes, basically. And
One
again,
guy, one U.S. Marshal
no,
goes in
it's
to
a
stop an armed
well,
militia.
it's like I don't know how many in the initial. There's a group of you though that go in, and I don't know. Again, I can read the synopsis real quick. Game set in a fictional Hope County, Montana, where a preacher named Joseph Seed has risen to prominence. Seed believes that he has been chosen by God to protect the people of Hope County from an inevitable collapse and has established a congregation called the Project at Eden's Gate. Ostensibly, this is to fulfill his mission of leading the people to salvation. In reality, Seed is a radical preacher, and Eden's Gate is a militaristic doomsday cult. Under his rule, Eden's Gate has used both coercion and violence to forcibly convert the residents of Hope County and intimidation to keep them from contacting the outside world for help. Seed has assumed the title of the Father and maintains control over Hope County with the aid of his siblings, known as the Heralds. Jacob, a bunch of other shit we don't really care about. So there's a joint operation between the United States Marshals and County Sheriff's Department to arrive at Eden's Gate and to basically get Joseph Seed with federal arrest. Apparently, copter goes down, and we obviously just can't nuke the place. So they're probably deep rooted. I don't know exactly how it works. Again, haven't played it. I just thought it was interesting. This little, very small. Again, this is like if you, some people might have not even heard of this, but I've heard of it through. I've read some articles talking about it and stuff like that, about how people are confused about the themes and the thematic portrayal of this game, because again, of they're coming into it with a notion of this is trying to do something larger than what it actually is. And I always think that's interesting. Again, hindsight's always 20/20. You could always look at a game and find a way to make it better. But again, this and all of this hasn't even fucking touched the sales of the game. The game is selling remarkably well, and most, like a normal gamer would play this game, not see any of this, not give a shit. But this is just something to bring up conversation. We want, if you guys have anything on this, any way to either shed light to new things that you've heard of recently, or something to correct us on, feel free to let us know any way, shape, or form. We stated the methods of doing so previously. I just thought it was interesting. Talk about it a bit, provide our opinions on it. And I didn't really think it was going to take that long anyway, just to talk about it. But I always think it's interesting of trying, and you'd see that in everything. You can talk to someone that is excited about anything and ask them, what do you think about this? Or if they're a big fan of something, what do you think about this? And they can hit you back with like, oh, this, there's so much meaning in the way that this was shot, and that this person, and again, how you were defining before, that the artist will create his artwork and put it out there. It will circulate, and a person can take something, and depending on where they're at in their life, they can pull so much meaning from stuff where it wasn't ever intended. Even if you look at one example, the creator of Evangelion, there's a lot of religious subtext in his work in Evangelion, and they actually went up to him and they talked to him about it, and they asked, what does this mean? What is the meaning behind this religious subtext? And I shit you not, I would have to look up the article. If you want me to share it with you guys, you just got to let me know. But I definitely read this somewhere. They asked him about it, and he straight up said, he's like, I think crosses look cool. So I put them in there. And I searched up some biblical names, and I put them in there. And he openly denounced that he did not intend for any heavy religious meaning in Evangelion. But someone can witness this and see things. And again, there might be, I'm sure he researched the Bible.
Plot clearly illustrates it, though. It's not like it's left to you. I mean, the angels are trying to wipe out humanity. That's a pretty I mean, I don't know how else you could not attach that to some sort of religious message.
Let me see if I could find.
I mean, those things that are landing are angels, and they're trying to kill humans.
Yeah,
that's the point. Like, so I mean, I guess it might not have had any like legitimate religious messages, but I mean, he based it off of Christianity. Or
Yeah,
at
well,
least that's the way
no.
I understood
Yeah,
it.
he definitely did research. I'm not saying he just threw in a bunch of random shit. Oh, I mean, I didn't intend it to sound that way. He just threw in a bunch of random shit and hoped it made sense. He did do his research because there are references to things like the original Eve and stuff like that, Lilith and other things like that, and that there is
That's Judaism right there.
again, well, Christianity is a branch of that, but it's just interesting how you're saying this dichotomy of these two relationships that happen, and they could happen in different ways, and that leads to so much. And I always enjoy conversation coming out of any of this, and it leads to a lot of it. What we're seeing now, if this didn't exist the way that it does, we wouldn't be seeing these whole reviews coming out of this. Like, I'm kind of confused about the portrayal of the themes in this because there's no white supremacy in this game, and I thought there was. And then someone just completely playing it's like, yeah, America's badass, and you blow up shit and stuff like that, and we're killing radical religious people. It's just interesting. And America. So again, definitely, you guys, I'd like to hear what you guys think about this story, this idea, and this main topic. I don't even want to consider it a main topic. It was more of just like a nugget of information that we discussed because there wasn't really much to talk about. But I just found it interesting. And I think that, I don't know, because it's weird with a review. You're obviously, the review serves a purpose more than just describing your opinion and what you thought about a game and giving it a rating system. You're helping people that maybe don't want to spend $60 on a game make that decision. So obviously the review has to come fast. There's not really much time to sit and digest something that has been presented to you, and especially some of these games that last between 20 and 40 hours. You're working on getting it out to the public as fast as possible. So a lot of the time you don't really have that time to digest something or fully understand that maybe this wasn't the intention of the developer. And whose fault that might be on, I can't really say. But
you can't blame your comprehension of a product based off of the developer. You can blame the advertising campaign, but you can't blame the creators.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Because then again, and it comes down to everything. Like, someone not liking a certain movie because maybe something might have flown over their head doesn't necessarily make that movie bad. And a lot of people, when they look at like a truth of some kind, it's what the general public or the highest percentage of people that have witnessed this believe, at least in these situations, or in an emotional kind of situation where, how do we tell if this movie was actually good? Do we look at people that are respected in the community? Do we look at the highest percentage of people, aka Metacritic, the tomato thing, and the more people that did like it, the better it is? Or can this one dude that's really respected for his reviews say the movie's trash and people respect that opinion? And a lot of it falls down. I think a lot of it comes down to you as a person and what you're willing to deal with. I like, for the most part, to make my own opinion. I never really read reviews. I'll listen to people talk about stuff sometimes and maybe gripes, but I usually try and stay away from reviews. Unless I'm really I'm either like strapped for cash and I don't know if I really want to spy this or anything like that, but I'll stick with just like raw, like either gameplay, and see if something like that pertains to me as a person, and before I make that judgment. And I want to fully experience something before I can sit down and discuss it, or discuss it in full at very least. Sometimes we'll talk about it on the podcast and present our opinions of first impressions, but like to fully discuss it, I like to fully experience something and be able to somewhat sit on it. I do a lot of that at work because work is fucking boring as hell. I'm just sitting there stocking shelves or whatever, and I got to keep myself busy by keeping the brain thinking. So I'll just think about shit like this, and this is one of the things that popped into mind. And today has been completely swamped with busyness, so I haven't been able to make like a legitimate main topic, but we were able to fill up a decent amount of time with this. So again, real quick, final thoughts. Shawn.
Yeah.
When you look, I'm thinking, final thoughts on this idea real quick about Far Cry 5 having white supremacy in it and people being confused for thematic portrayal.
I think whoever wrote that was just really dumb. It sounds like one of those people that they're like, that would say Black Panther can't have white actors in it, or they're upset because there was 2 white actors somewhere in the movie, or people that are looking for reasons to get upset. Like obviously Black Panther isn't going to have a predominantly white cast because of where it's located and the nature of the original xenophobic mind state of Wakanda. All that fucking makes sense. Or for that matter, somebody being upset because there wasn't enough white people in it. That is also super dumb. So if this guy is upset, he's like, I don't understand the theme. There's no white supremacists. What are you, fucking retarded? What the hell are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you even say that? Like, it's not the game I thought it was going to be. So now I'm confused. They clearly give you the fucking story. So I don't understand anything that person. If that's what they were writing about, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. To me, it just sounds like somebody who's exceptionally stupid and thinks that things should have been made differently because that's what they wanted. And frankly, I think we've had enough things hating on race and enough things hating on religion to fucking last a lifetime. I'm more than happy for you to not try and reflect today's society in every fucking video game I play.
Yeah, I
there's a time and a place for that, and I really, you can put it in video games, fine, whatever, but don't expect me to play them. I play video games to get away from reality, not to dip into some sort of exaggerated version of it.
I think
personally,
I think a lot of it can come down to also kind of the fault of how our media is in general. A lot of it is focused on what can garner us the most attention.
Oh, completely. The being divisive is what makes the money. Turning us against each other is what, and it works well for the government too, because we're easier to control that way. If we're busy fighting ourselves, we're not fighting Uncle Sam.
Yeah, dude.
And so yeah. Anyway, that's my. I don't really give a shit what that kid wrote, and I don't think it has any validity, or it's even worth fucking giving him any kind of attention to discuss. Because to me, it sounds like he's just ignorant and stupid.
But then again, we do respect his opinion and the right for him to have it.
I do absolutely respect it, but he needs to understand. I will also respect my right to think he's a moron.
Yes, exactly. That's a lot of things that they always forget. As much as you have the right to say something retarded, we have the right to call you retarded for saying something retarded. So
absolutely, we have the right to make ourselves look retarded if we call somebody retarded and they end up not being so. That's what makes this fucking world great. Like, we can be as dumb as we want to be.
Yeah. So,
and that's within our right to be so. So he's welcome to write it, but I think he's a dumbass.
Okay.
And I really don't understand the reason of putting that idea out there in the first place. Like, why there's black people here? Now I find out it's not about white supremacists. I'm so. Why isn't it? I don't get it. Why not? That would have been a better. Well, maybe they'll do that next time. Ubisoft doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
It could happen for sure.
So again, ultimately, what I've seen, and there really hasn't been. This has just been kind of a smaller blimp. The game's been selling incredibly well. This really hasn't affected much of it. It's just been kind of a discussion that's been brought up around it. And from what I've heard and seen from people playing and experiencing the game, and other people writing in response to things like this, because I haven't fully experienced this game. I'm not really a big fan of Far Cry. I've heard that the backlash is more. What do I want to say here? That the rebuttal coming from people that are enjoying the game or playing the game that don't see these signs is just, it makes more sense than it does from the other aspect, especially from what I've seen. I've probably watched a total of like 5 to 6 hours of gameplay of this game and seen major bits of the story and things like that. And again, Far Cry has been mainly about creating an interesting world for you to fuck around in. You're given a big sandbox for you to play with. And they may have decided to do something that might be a little bit sensitive in this area, especially in this, again, current political climate. But I still think it's interesting that they still managed to make, when a game that's normally tropical paradises that you run around and kill foreigners on, now we have a tropical paradise, because the game's gorgeous. It wouldn't be tropical paradise, but a paradise set in the middle of our home nation. So, again, I can't say the game is good or bad. I haven't played it, but I just think this idea that has been brought up around it is interesting, and I think what the developers intended to do and they set out to do over these last couple of years, that they accomplished doing, and people see that, and the game is selling well. So ultimately, that's the final verdict, really. If the game sold or did it, for all of you out there that do think the game, if you do think the game harbors notions of white supremacy or racial tendencies, the best thing you can do is not buy it. We've talked about it before on this podcast. If you ever have an issue with the practices of a company or practices,
vote with thine wallet.
Indeed, you can put that on a shirt. So
yeah.
I hope that made sense to anybody out there. I think we were somewhat understandable in that talk. And if you guys have your opinions, again, feel free to let us know what you guys think about this. We'd love to hear from you guys. So that'd probably call it for episode 46 of the Thought Patrol podcast. Again, I was joined by Shawn. And that boy needs to give me his outro.
Hugs and kisses and all your pink parts.
Damn, dude, you got him again. You got Bella's ass juice shooting all over the place with that talk, Shawn. Indeed. Okay, I had to pull up my random fact. I never have them ready in time, but
I've noticed that is a running theme.
I always forget till we get there. Oh fuck, I lost it again. Okay. Before we go for the night, I shall leave you guys with a thought. 400 quarter pounders can be made from one cow.